All righty, let's see who all join us this evening. We will be going live shortly. Um, Walking through the landmines of divorces tonight is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we're going to give a couple more minutes to see who join in with us tonight. Hey, 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 hey. Wee. While we're waiting, please feel free to put in the chat. If this is your first time, you didn't hear us last week. This is your first time with us. Make sure that you hear. Let me know how you heard about us, where you're from, why you tuned in. Go ahead and give me that info. All righty. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the camera on. Let's see. The camera is not showing for some reason. Okay, you can't. I don't know what's going on with the camera. It's not coming up. All righty. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. It looks like we have 4 people that are on with us tonight. Please put in the chat. Just say hi to me so we can have a little engagement. For whatever reasons, my camera is not working tonight. I don't know why. But we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to ask that I have someone kind of monitor the chat for me and let me know if there's something that I overlook, if I don't see. So tonight, what I shared with you guys in the promotion is that we are going to be talking about the death of a marriage. And what I am finding out, before I start, let me take a couple of deep breaths. Yes. And on this one, we're going to hold, and on the count of 3, we're going to exhale. Hi, Kalila. Hey, lady. Take another deep inhale. And exhale. So, yeah, I needed that. Did you need that? Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the death of a marriage. And unfortunately, for whatever odd reasons, my camera is not working tonight. But we're going to still go right ahead and talk about it anyway. The death of a marriage. So out of those that are listening in tonight, how many of you are divorced, going through a divorce, already divorced, contemplating divorce, thinking about divorce? If you could put that in the chat for me. Second time divorce, first time divorce, let me know. Yeah, it's just not going to show. I don't know what's going on. So, okay, and nobody going to share that. That's all right. Well, I'm a first time divorcee. Divorced free. Hey. Divorce free. So listen, divorce is a death. We shared with you guys on last week, no one goes into marriage with the intention of being divorced. But the important thing is the process divorce and understanding that it is a journey, depending on the circumstances that you have to walk through, go through, experience. The journey entails different levels of emotions, of feelings. If there was abuse involved, if there is financial abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, spiritual abuse, all of those are abuse. Or it can simply be just that you have outgrown one another, and it's draining, and you're no longer on the same page, and the tension in the marriage has escalated to a place of being unbearable. There's some schools of thought that says that you stay in that no matter what, because that's what that until death do us part clause mean. And I come from the school of thought that is something that we must revisit, because I do not believe, as a woman who definitely trust God, believe God, I am a prescribed person of the Christian faith. meaning that I believe in Jesus Christ and have a relationship with God. But I do not necessarily subscribe to all of some of the institutions that are in the mindsets. That's what the word I'm looking for, the mindsets that sometimes confines us and restricts us in situations and circumstances and relationships and commitments that are unhealthy. I do not believe that we are to remain in unhealthy relationships. The first being with self. And when I say self, I believe it is impossible to say you love God and not love yourself. And I believe when we love self, we choose differently. We don't always start at the same place when we start in relationships. In some relationships, we start from a place of, what do I say? We start from a place of a need. We start from a place of infatuation. We start from a place of this is it. We start from the place of, oh my God, we have love bombed. The sex is good. The feeling, it's a relief. All those things can play a role and a part of why we get married, or the mindset that we're in when we get married. And sometimes we get married because we don't want to, quote unquote, live in sin. That's another one. Fornication, whatever. And so we get married because of those pretense, or we get married because we believe that is what we're supposed to do. And so we get married under those pretense. And I believe that when we have the highest relationship with ourselves, which involves our relationship with God, it involves our relationship with the one who created us. It involves our relationship with our connection to our breath. I believe that in our breath, when God breathed the breath of life in us, we became a living soul, which gave us the right and the authority to pick, choose, and decide as the Holy Spirit that guides us inside of us. So with that said, I believe that oftentimes what happens is because we meet people at different times in our life, the expectations that we have on marriage and another person, that the other person that we marry, it can become a very weighty, extremely weighty. What you think about that, y'all? Let me know in the chat. What did you think of the expectations of marriage can become heavy, and it can become extremely weighty. But let me know, give me something in the chat. Let me know yay or Y for yes, and a no for no. If you can put that in the chat for me, I greatly appreciate that. Yes, it become weighty because of the expectations. We expect another person to bring to us or fulfill in us what it is impossible many times for another person to fulfill, be it under what they present, right? And they're unable to. I know my mother used to say, don't start nothing you can't keep up. Because once you start a certain way, the expectation is for that to continue, right? So we bring our representative, we bring our best of the best person to the table. And then as the relationship, the marriage goes on, we find out, number one, not only do we not want to keep up with that, not only do we not want to keep up with that, we that's not it's not our authentic self, and neither is the person that we have married the person that we want to continue engaging in, right? And so the journey becomes real when we have to make the choice and the decision to divorce because it's unhealthy, it's toxic. All righty. And then we have to deal with the mindsets and the belief systems that we have around marriage. And that can present some challenges. The shock of the fact that this is not working, dealing with the shock of it. Dealing with the shock of my expectations, my dream of what I thought it was to be is not happening. That was one of the things. I had a pretty intense conversation today with someone as it related to my choice in marriage and how it got to the divorce state, and why did it take so long for me to divorce. And it was a difficult question to ask, in the sense of I had to allow myself to be transparent and naked and authentic. And sometimes that is a difficult thing. In my book, The Day I Forgave God, I talked about the fact, can I be naked and look at myself naked I'm talking about your raw emotions and feelings, and not trying to cover it up and camouflage it. You know, can I look in the mirror at myself in my eyes without trying to fix it, change it, make it look different, feel different? Can I just look at me in rawness and accept me in rawness, accept how I may have chose and how I may have made decisions, be it emotional, not emotional, be it in fear, not in fear, be in what I thought was love or not love. Can I look at that honestly? And sometimes that is not always a pretty picture, but it is a necessary process that we all must go through, not just in divorce, but that seems to be the topic of many these days, simply because divorce is at an all-time high in terms of divorce. And then we go through the denial of, I cannot believe, like, I'm in shock, and then I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to deal it. There was a period where I couldn't even say that I'm divorced. Now, it wasn't because I didn't feel like I didn't do the right thing by filing for a divorce. It wasn't getting divorced and not stopping the divorce. It wasn't because any of those things, but to admit to the public, to the world, that I am divorced or I am going through a divorce. It was difficult for me. How was it for you? Was anybody difficult for, because of the expectations I had on myself of not being divorced, not going through divorce, and also the expectation that I felt people had, because I had presented this picture of we were the couple that had gotten back together after being separated for 7 years. We were the couple that got back together against all hi there, lady, against all odds. And it wasn't all bad. Let me just emphasize. Hi, Tanika. It wasn't all bad. Everything was not all bad. And so we have to remember, even when we get divorced, it wasn't, obviously, it couldn't have been all bad, or else we wouldn't marry the people or the person. But something happens that causes us to look at our life with the lens of authenticity, to tell the truth, the uncomfortableness of unhealthy relationship, a toxic relationship, a relationship or a marriage chosen in the space of whatever it was chosen, the expectation, will cause us to pause, or to look at it. It has to cause us to look at ourselves when it becomes toxic. Anger and blaming is the next phase. There's I know one of the I had to marinate over the statement of, and I think there's some truth in it. If I'm not taking responsibility for the other person's behavior, and that's absolute truth. We cannot take responsibility for anyone's behavior, just like we can't change the will of a person to love us how we want to be loved. We have to choose wisely. But then the question becomes, have we taken the time that we need to take with ourselves? I hope you guys can hear me. My computer is acting up. Have we taken the time to do what we need to do to be our best self in showing up in the marriage. Can you guys hear me okay? Because my computer looks like you can hear me okay. Great, thank you. In the marriage. So we have the bargaining. I don't know if I ever went through bargaining. And then we have depression. I think the depression is big because we have to deal with the sadness associated with the realization of the inevitable. Often deepens after unsuccessful try again. So if you try to work it out, if you try to figure it out, if you prayed about it, fast about it, sought counsel about it, read a book about it, tried to cook different, have sex different, you tried everything and it just ain't working. It just is not working, and you have to deal with the sadness of that. You have to deal with, there's a sadness even after. I remember the first time that I thought the divorce was complete, and I'd spoken to the attorney, and they said, my first attorney that I dealt with had said, oh yes, it's finalized. It's and it's everything is clear. And I remember feeling relief. I remember going, and I got off the call and I was like really excited, like this is finally done. I don't have to deal with it anymore. Based on some information that the attorney, then I got to thinking about it. And I was like, wait a minute, I haven't gotten any papers. I haven't gotten anything. So I called to find out what was going on, and only to learn that not only was the divorce not finalized, the paperwork had been kicked back because the attorney that I had at the time had made some mistakes in the paperwork. And so the paperwork was kicked out, and the assistant was just pretty much lying to me, not telling me the truth. And I remember how my heart felt. Like, I cannot believe that I'm still having to deal with this. And so the depression of and the sadness of things just not working, and it's taken so long for this to settle, and then getting to the point of where you think that the person that you love, that said they love you, when it gets, especially when a divorce turns ugly, that they would at least honor what they some roads, how do I say it? Some things wouldn't be crossed. There it is. Some lines wouldn't be crossed. And so having to really walk through those feelings of rebuilding your life, accepting and then rebuilding your life, finding the strength and the courage to rebuild your life, your destiny, your purpose, to awaken to what God, the creator of all life, has placed in your heart to do, to be, to encourage. I believe today one of the things that was said in the conversation that was had, although I returned to a situation that I know that looking back at it, they say hindsight is 2020. Looking back at it, I should not have returned back to the marriage the way I returned. But I can say today that it had to happen like it happened, because I have the experience like I have to be here for other women and men to talk about there's a purpose in divorce. There's a purpose in heartache, in pain. In pain, we can find the beauty of destiny and purpose, and rearrange and reacquaint ourselves with the thing that God has for us. And so with that said, I just wanted to encourage you that this platform is about sharing with you. The process is not easy. It's not an easy process. It's not an easy journey. There is a lot of feelings and emotions. If you have children, you have that dynamic going on, and it's not comfortable. Sometimes there's a lot of shame and guilt. You feel like you have failed. But I'm here to tell you that you can get to the other side of that. And even after you feel like you have gotten to the other side, or that you've at the very least opened the door to rebuilding your life, and reacquainting yourself with yourself after the marriage, and establishing your standards and acknowledging where you may have gone beyond the inkling. I'm going to use the word inkling or discernment, that maybe I should have stopped. Maybe I should have paused. Maybe I should have listened. Maybe I should have asked different kinds of questions. Now you are armed and equipped for your future, right? Your present and your future, to engage in relationship differently, in a more powerful stand, in a more aware, and not in a false expectation. Engage even with yourself. I think it is so important. When I wrote the book, The Day I Forgave God, it was a difficult book to write, because I had to write about my pain and my expectation of how I thought God was going to show up in my life, in my circumstances, in my marriage, because of how I was taught to believe that if I prayed about it, if I trusted God, that he would do it. And his word said that he would. And things just wasn't turning out like that. So I felt like God had let me down to a certain extent. And many times we don't want to say that that's how we feel. we feel like God let us down. And even if the husband or the wife or the partner is a perpetrator, you feel like, if God really loved me like he said he loved me, why would he allow something like this to even come in my life and uproot my life and just ramshack through my life? Why would this even happen to me? We don't even want to acknowledge that, because we're not supposed to question how God shows up and why things happen the way they have. And so I had to really have a conversation with God about it, about, I don't understand this. Yeah, yes. Well, I don't understand this. Like, why in the world would this happen to me? I'm not a bad person. I have given, I have sowed seed, I have encouraged other marriages and relationships and seen them heal. I have I've done what you told me to do, as I've been taught, as I believed, and even when I didn't believe. How could this happen? And I heard I had to deal with that aspect of my journey, that I was angry. I was upset with God, because I felt like God did not handle me properly. Now, I'm going to say it. Sometimes we are in services, and we are sitting in church services, and we are sitting in meetings and whatever it is we sitting in to get our spiritual food. And we are afraid to say, God, I'm upset with you right now. I'm angry at how my life looks because I didn't sow these kind of seeds. I didn't do this. I wouldn't dare do this to another human being, to another person, even if it was an enemy. How could you do this to me? How could you let me be naked like this before the world in my life? How could I be bankrupt again, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially? How could this happen? And then I had to challenge, I had to remember how many times what we have trusted and believed has been based on misguided hope and misguided fear, misguided faith. And I had to accept the revelations that have been given to me. And many times doctrine will teach us what is not, and we can, as we go and grow with marriage, gone, divorce, we'll talk and delve into it further. But it's in complete contradiction with what God, the authority that God has given us, placed in us, excuse me, to choose and to make choice. Excuse me. And so, an understanding there is a difference in suppressing and forgiving. Acceptance, yes, Tanika. Acceptance for me was when reality hit me. Yes. The reality of what? What reality? Share that with us. The acceptance of the realities of my life is a mess right now. Is in shambles. It's a mess. I'm emotionally a mess. And so how do I rebuild from this? Because the person that I thought that I was going to do this with, it did not happen. So I'm going to read a little section from my book, The Day I Forgave God. I wept for my soul, yet angry. I felt violated, harmed, and misused, and it left me in a space of lack and not enough. I wept for my family because I could not fix it or change it, and I was angry. Now, was I living the 12 stages of grief and loss exploding in my soul and body like a nuclear bomb? This grief was different than the grief of my parents and my grandparents and other close loved ones. The physical presence of this person lingering in my world created an aching in my spirit, leaving an unidentifiable crater in my soul that could not be filled by any other human being. Honey, is nothing in the world like that kind of grief. Nothing in the world that I've experienced like that kind of grief. There's an experience of grief when you lose a mother and a father and a grandparent, but it's a different kind of experience when the person that's by your side and you have given birth to their child you've had to sever the relationship because it is no longer healthy, or was it ever healthy for that matter? Yes, Tanika, I see what you, the reality that my marriage was over and the life that I thought was mine left me for another. Ah, powerful. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. This is hard to say or admit, and it is breathtaking at its worst. Literally finding myself unable to breathe at times. My anthem has been believe and breathe. And what happened in this process of divorce, I had to identify what I believe. Sometimes we say believe, but you got to be sure about what it is you believe. What do you really believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your God? What do you believe about relationships and marriage? What do you really believe? Because we are breathing life many times into situations and relationships and toxicity that is not ordained by the creator of all life, the one who breathed life into you. Why would God require so much from us, while others seemingly get to do what the hell they wanted with no regards and appears to get rewarded for their reckless behavior? That was the one for me. How in the whole ham and cheese is this happening? And then what I had to come to terms with, it was my belief system. What do you believe? What do you believe? Those of you that are still here with me, what do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe about relationship? I still believe in marriage. I still believe in relationship. I don't believe in it the same way I believed in terms of the construct of it, the way I did before, in terms of the expectation of it, and the I don't believe it in that concept. But I do still believe in relationship, healthy relationship. I believe it's possible. What do you believe? What do you believe? Ask yourself, what do I really believe? What do I believe? Do I believe it's not possible? Or do I want relationship and marriage to fill a void in me? Because what I've come to understand, if it's about filling a void, you're headed down a road that it may not be too healthy. I'm not saying that it can't turn around. However, I am saying that oftentimes we put ourselves in position, as the person said to me today, that we make it hard for ourselves. We make it hard for ourselves, harder than it has to be. Yes. So with that said, I hope that something has been said that has caused you to think tonight, that has caused you to look at yourself and remember that you're worthy of the best, that you're not no accident, and that you're not scarred. You may be a little wounded, but that can heal. And I believe that the wounds can heal to a place of power. It doesn't have to be a place of walking around with your wounded and scarred from relationships that you are unable and unable to engage in healthy relationship. Yes, I believe it is possible, but I believe it's also extremely important that you turn that light, that energy on yourself. And so you'll hear some people saying, particularly in the Christian world, I can't talk about the other religions because I'm not a part of that, but I can tell you in the Christian world, you'll hear things like, you're thinking too much about yourself. It's too much energy on looking at this, that, and the third, and you don't need all of that. You be a lot more. Yeah, I like that, Tanika. She said you're more cautious, or another way to look at it, because cautious has a way of implying a certain amount of fear. But another way to look at it, I am more aware. paying attention to when you don't feel right in your body. Pay attention to when you're in a situation with a relationship, when you're engaging in a conversation, not downplaying it to maybe I am overthinking it, or maybe I am thinking this is like my previous one. Pay attention to those subtle, yes. Pay attention to those subtle things, discernment, allowing our discernment. And see, this is the thing. When we take time with ourselves, when we allow ourselves to heal internally, our mind, our spirit, and then our physicality becomes unified in alignment. When we allow that to happen, let me tell you, nothing not only can stop us, our little receptors, our tingle tangles, our tingle tangles, honey, we don't second guess that because we've been taught not to trust ourselves. You can't trust yourself. You can't trust yourself. Don't do that. But if the Holy Spirit is inside of you, guiding you, not out there trying to get to you, trying to fix you, but when you know that you're created in the very image and after the likeness of the creator of all life, and hey, I ain't no junk, I'm not no mistake, and I don't have to settle for nothing. Let me tell you what happens. You start choosing differently. You start paying attention and trusting yourself, because you know in trusting yourself, you're trusting God. You don't see yourself separate from God. You see yourself in one, in sync, in harmony with God. And so you trust yourself, right? You trust yourself because you trust the God in you. It's imperative that we forgive ourselves. And we forgive ourselves many times, even during the divorce. I can think about, there were times during my divorce where if I had made some different moves at different times, I wouldn't be in the position that I am in. I have found myself today. But I did not trust myself. I second guessed myself. And because I second guessed myself, I have found myself in situations where if I had listened to the spirit within, if I had listened to wise counsel, people who didn't necessarily know the ins and outs of what was going on in my life, but said certain things to me, right? Or met people that exposed me to certain things that made me go, that's kind of like palatable to my circumstance. If I had listened to the spirit, if I had listened to the guide, right, and not operating in fear. Or even, this is a big one, ignoring what the person already has shown me. We can't ignore what a person has shown us. We can't ignore ourselves. We know our weaknesses. Don't ignore your weaknesses. We all have them. All righty. Well, that was good to me. I hope it was good to you. I hope it was good to you. God, sit on my tongue so that everything I say be the truth, absent of anger and arrogance. That was Felicia Rashad. Pain teaches us not to let it happen again. Is this truth? If it is, why is it a woman returned to the pain of giving birth, or anyone who returns to relationships that are painfully toxic and unhealthy? If it is contrary, it is temporary. If it is contrary to your purpose, if it is contrary to what you know your spirit is checking you with, then it's temporary. It's a temporary thing. Depression, feeling sad, grief are all temporary if we allow ourselves to learn the lesson and choose differently. Choose yourself. Choose yourself. Any comments, any questions? We're right at 8:04. Anything you want to share? I want to thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate you. This is just our second show. And the next one will be coming back in September. We have a powerful interview that's coming, a couple of powerful interviews that are coming up in September. And we want to make sure that you tune in, share, spread the word. We're gaining some momentum here. If you have a story of walking through divorce, of getting to the other side, if you're not through the other side yet, that's okay. Remember that you are in the right place at the right time to receive exactly what you need to grow and glow. Grow and glow. You got to tell yourself, so what? I am. I am the very essence of God in the earth, and I am not no mistake. That may have been a mistake, but it was a mistake that turned into a powerful lesson so that the next phase of my life will reflect what God says about me, because I am changing my attitude and my perceptions on who I am, whom's I am, and how I choose. All right, then. I want to say thank you again. I appreciate you, and I will see you next time. God bless, and be sure to share. This should be up live afterward. Oh, and my book is available. I will have the link in the the day I forgave God. The link will definitely be available in the body of this when it goes up. Okay. All right. Peace and blessings. See you guys next. Talk to you next time. Thank you.